Is the fear of failure holding you back? All right, welcome to the new Parkwood Studios and After Hours.
Cheers. Cheers.
My name is Nick, and we are here with Sprague, Susie, and Scott, and we're talking about the fear of failure and is it holding you back from your dreams out there. So we always start with Sprague, so why change anything? Sprague, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, and I just want to say that I like our new studio very much. You know,
it's not too shabby, right? We're more comfortable. We have a little more
nice
room.
Couch, and,
You know, if you don't shower, it's okay. You're way over there. I don't have to smell you or anything.
Yeah, that's the best part. you
Yeah,
know,
I can
so-
take my shoes off. We got this nice new
Don't do that. No.
this nice new table here. So
That's right. Yeah, you wouldn't believe how much agony went into this table, folks. You know? Wow, much crying and gnashing of teeth.
So we're talking about fear of failure, and we know as you're starting. I just had a business talk the other night. As you're starting business, there's so much, and there's so much out there to do. You know, is this holding people back from their dreams and actually going out there and starting a company?
Sure, because when people first get in, you know, they like taking pictures, they like doing the processing, and that part's very exciting. You've got a product, you think this is great, I'm going to sell it, and then it's like, now what do I do? Now I have to start a business. I have to hire an accountant. I have to do bookkeeping. I've got to have a web presence.
Sure.
And, you know, then you start running through all the machinations that it's going to take to get that put together, and it can defeat you before you even get started. So it's pretty intimidating.
Well, do you think a business is for everyone? Does everyone that buys a camera have to start a business? No. Right? You can just do it and just have fun with it.
Yeah, there's people who do it all the time who just do it for fun. Just, you know, they just have personal projects. They do it just as an artistic outlet for themselves.
Sure.
So, no, you don't need to. But I guess what we're talking about is for people who do want to kind of
So
move it
the
to a
most
business.
common question, I think, is, am I good enough to actually charge and make money? So you're kind of on this line like, hey, all my friends and family are like, hey, you know, thumbs up on Facebook. They give you likes. You're the best photographer they know. But now it's in your mind is, well, am I the best photographer for other people too?
Yeah, and everybody starts there because, you know, you start off, your first paid gigs are probably friends and family, you know, and people that you know, close people.
By
But
paid, you mean like you get dinner, right?
yeah, or whatever it is,
Here's
like
a-
it's free beer.
Come to
or
our
whatever,
wedding
yeah.
and here's free beer.
Yeah.
They help you wash your car.
You get gigs, right? Like they're like official gigs.
Yeah.
You know, and you get some kind of compensation out of it. And then you're like, okay, well, now how do I go from this to actually going, you know, bigger? And so, you know, a lot of people kind of just get stuck in that phase and they're afraid to move forward.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's like, okay, well, maybe I shot my, you know, I shot for my friends or my family, but like, am I good enough to shoot for, you know, serious clients, people who are paying me for specific jobs? Like can I
Will
do
Smith or
this?
someone.
Yeah, can I do this on a consistent basis? You know, is my work consistent? You know, am I consistent? You know, can I handle the stress of it all? Can I handle the business? Can I, you know, and so it's a huge leap of faith moving forward, and it's frightening. It can be
Well,
very frightening.
I would add that I think it's frightening or can be intimidating even if you're not looking to go into business. Even for someone just learning their camera and wanting to become accomplished at photography and starting at, you know, a beginner level, the internet is so flooded with exceptional examples of even just your vacation destinations where you want to go to Yosemite or something like that, and then you look it up online and there are these breathtaking photos that when you come home with your snapshots, they're nothing close to that, and it can seem like this huge chasm of knowledge that you'd have to bridge.
No, you just pay the
In
permits
order
and you
to-
get good pictures. You just pay them and everything,
Yeah.
then the shots come.
But I think it can hold you back from thinking that you have a chance to become proficient if it seems like you're so far from that level of accomplishment and you don't have a good roadmap as to how to get there.
True. So you got this fear of getting started. You need the roadmap. How do you start to set up a business out here for the people that are going to do this? What's the first thing that they should probably do? Because I know what I've done, but what's the first thing you did before you do a first job?
The first thing I did was I actually started like honing my craft. Practice.
Sure.
And the more you practice, the more you build up confidence in your own ability. You have a better understanding of your camera. You have a better understanding of like workflow and how to get work done. There was a photographer that I looked up to, and he used to use dummies, like little mannequins, little teddy bears, and
Like that's not very nice.
well, he used to use
Come over here. You're not very smart. Come on over.
But he would set up these scenes, and he would practice. So like he would find a weakness, like shooting in backlit situations. So he would set up like a teddy bear and put it in a backlit situation, and then find ways to perfect that shot.
Sure.
And so you would just keep. So that's kind of the honing of the craft, and that's something that continues. Like you don't ever stop doing that. So that's just good practice to get into to begin with. Is to practice.
Get
Even
a
if
teddy
you're,
bear. Shoot
Well,
it
yeah,
in
I
every
mean-
Not a very smart
situation,
teddy bear.
right? A dummy teddy bear.
but something so that you can, because we've all been in situations, and when you're starting out, you get in situations where you're like, you get out of it and you look back at it and you're like, wow, I really didn't do this right, or
Right,
I didn't handle this
prepare
right,
for that.
and I wasn't prepared. I didn't know how to handle the situation, and then so you start to find holes in your workflow and you find weaknesses in your skill, and so you hone those and you master them, and so your weak points become your strong points, and so that's one of the things that I did, and I just kind of did it on my, like with my own personal projects, and did it on my own time. And
Personal projects are great. Practicing, the more practice with anything, the more you do it, the better. And second shooting, we had a whole episode, I think, on that, where we're talking about second shooting. Don't feel like you have to jump out and do your first gig on your own. If you get hired, even for a family party, bring someone along that knows what they're doing and just take the back burner. You know, you don't have to go and jump out there and be like, oh, I got a job now. It's like, that's not always the most ethical thing to do. Like, even if it's a family thing, even if it's free, say, hey, can you come along and help me shoot it? And if you get a tip or whatever, then you give them the tip. But, I feel like you should second shoot 8 or 10 weddings or events before you even jump on the bandwagon of doing a real event, because...
And you should make friends with other people who are doing what you like to do, so that you continue to learn from them. And you
look at their pictures and everything else. So setting up the actual business part of it now, I always suggest to set up an LLC, because that separates you from the business in a sense, where you don't have if someone does sue you, that you don't have that liability. Is that what you've set up as well?
I'm still a sole proprietor, and I just figured that works for me for right now. Maybe sometime down the line I'll move to an LLC, but right now I'm just a sole proprietor.
See, I had a friend in the DJ production side of things that I did, that she was actually out on the dance floor at an event. She was doing the Macarena or something with everything, and Grandma fell down and busted her hip, and she got sued. Her company got sued for that, because she made Grandma dance, and they sued everybody, and she was just part of that. And you made Grandma dance, Grandma broke her hip, we're going to sue you. So, having that LLC separates you for something that you may not even have done. Hey, back up one more step, and Grandma's, heel sinks in the grass and she falls and, drowns in the pond behind her. And
Now, that's a
The
good
lesson
point.
is never shoot grandma. Nothing good happens when you shoot grandma.
No, Grandma's always trouble.
Well,
man.
if she
Stay away
falls
from
over,
Grandma.
she'll put a hex on you.
You
It's
see Grandma
like,
run.
you very bad photographer.
No, that's a good point. I mean, but I do have liability insurance.
Sure.
And so liability insurance keeps me protected. I also have an umbrella policy. I do have insurance and things in place. So, an LLC does add that extra bit of protection.
I think it's important to mention that every state is going to have different laws that you need to become aware of, that are required for your business, you know, to establish a business and to stay in business, and all of those things that you have to comply to are going to vary from location to location, and definitely consult a professional. So go to your accountant, a tax attorney, you know, a lawyer, run your contracts by an attorney.
Yeah, and that's where that's
be-
where it gets scary,
Yeah.
because once you start getting, you know, the lawyers involved and the accountants
Mm-hmm.
involved, and you start setting, I mean, it's getting real now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's getting scary,
Well-
because now like it's getting real. Like
Yeah.
like you're really becoming an entity, you know, and that's when
Sure.
that's where the fear factor comes in.
Well, the assumption is that all of that's going to be greatly expensive also, and I've found that it's not nearly as expensive as I kind of initially assumed.
Sure.
So-
but when you're not making money, everything's expensive.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure, it's
You know, 'cause-
expensive, but it's not. It's not going to cost you thousands and thousands of dollars to have someone look over your contracts.
No.
That kind of stuff you can do on a consultative basis,
There's
and it's reasonable.
There's an online service that you can get for lawyers and stuff. I'm trying to think what it is. Not LegalZoom.
There's-
There's the
I think there's. We
There-
probably
there-
don't want to
all these
plug their
online.
names, but there are services out there where if you become, well, you have to keep an eye on what their terms and limitations are too, because some of them are only for personal legal matters. They're not for business. So look for one that has a policy that supports you for small business. And, you know, Google will
I
help
belong
you
to
out.
one. I can't think of what its name is, but they have a bunch of lawyers, and
Mm-hmm.
you can contact them, and it's like a multi-level marketing lawyer kind of thing, and you can have access to them whenever you want,
Yeah.
and you know they'll look over contracts and other stuff. It's a small nominal fee a month, and then you have
Mm-hmm.
access to whatever kind of questions.
The,
and
the other thing you might
consultations.
want to do is consider a business where your liability is limited, because if you're shooting events, then you've got a bunch of people and you've got a situation that you really can't control. If you're shooting art prints and you're doing, say, landscape pictures, for example, it's just basically you, nature, and the camera, and publishing it. So,
Exactly.
really, the squirrel isn't going to, sue you because he tripped and fell over a log while you're shooting his picture. So.
Well, there was this
His
one
heel
about the
got
monkey
stuck in
just
Yeah, that's
recently.
right,
Did you
Yeah,
see
you
the
know,
monkey
you-
selfie one that they're
Yeah,
like,
that's-
well, he
yeah,
didn't
I
take
just-
the picture, the monkey did. So
Yeah,
like,
had a mishap while storing his nuts. Yeah, so
Well, yeah, you definitely need to get the right
Yeah.
legal advice for
Well,
what you're
and
doing.
like, for example, you could do like architecture. That's a whole different thing too, because I mean, unless you have a lampstand that falls over and breaks something in their house, or you set their house on fire, your chances of a mishap are
sure.
pretty limited. And you might just think about starting with something like that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Another thing I think that when we're talking about fear of moving forward, fear holding you back, another thing that is very common in photography is trying to identify when you should transition from it being your hobby to something that you really rely upon. I think we can't stress enough that you have to be very well prepared, and that you can't just quit your day job and be a photographer full time without having really gotten a good footing and understanding where your business really is headed. What are your projected earnings, and having a good business plan and things like that. So
Yeah,
goes
and
for
the business plan is the big part of it too. Most people, they have a fear of just writing the business plan because they don't know
Mhm.
where they're going. Like the whole business plan is to project your goals, 6 months out, a year out, 5 years out, how you're gonna proceed with your business. And a lot of people don't even know what their next step is. And so
Well,
it's
how
a
many
daunting
people at the
task.
meeting the other night? I spoke on business for the PAC group, and we raise your hands. How many people are interested, and how many people have started a business, and then how many people did a business plan, and it got smaller and smaller and smaller.
2 people
There was
that
2
had
to 4
two people
people
had
that-
a business plan.
So out of 40.
Well, the
you
other
know?
thing is to recognize your core competency. Not everybody is good at doing bookkeeping or doing marketing and things like that. And sometimes you're better off just hiring somebody to structure it for you so that you can focus on shooting and processing. And some of the best photographers out there, that's exactly what they do.
And so that's another fear, though, too, is releasing all of that responsibility. Because there's a lot of people who are like, this is my baby, and they want to handle it all themselves, and they want to manage it and micromanage it. And it's the fear of releasing all of these responsibilities to other people
Yeah.
to delegate all that work out.
But the thing is, nobody ever got wealthy by not being able to delegate and get other people to work for them. You know, you look at the single entrepreneur and the wealth that they generate without having people that they can rely on and do things, and you know, it's just a very small number of people.
You
that
have
are
to
good
be
at
able to
doing
grow.
Yeah,
Right.
well, Robert Kiyosaki talks about that.
You have to be able to count on other people to do your jobs. I mean, if you look at a big corporation, particularly, I mean, one guy can't run the show.
Yeah, Robert Kiyosaki talks about it. He always says, "Don't fix the toilet." You know, he works on doing real estate, fixing and flipping houses, and he's like, you can pay someone $5 an hour, $8 an hour to fix the toilet. Don't be going to each house and fixing stuff. You can pay people low amounts for that. Focus on buying houses and doing that. So again, all the stuff we're talking about goes across for any business, liability insurance, you know, all that stuff you really have to think about. It's business wide. It's not photography, you know. So if you look at any business books, any business marketing books, advice, it's the same thing all the way across.
The other thing is, you know, look at what the investment's going to be for you. If you're going to start any kind of a business, even if you're going to start like a Subway shop or buy a McDonald's franchise or anything like that.
We're starving, and you're talking about food?
Well, sure, but you know, there's a
You didn't even bring pizza.
There's a startup cost, and some of those startup costs can be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars or the millions of dollars just to get in and go to school and do that. With a photography business, I mean, your equipment in the grand scheme of things is relatively cheap. I mean, you couldn't outfit a kitchen. A whole suite of
chef,
photography
right,
equipment is going to cost you far less than a commercial kitchen. So it's not a lot of money. And the people that you would have to hire to structure your books and your marketing and everything is going to be a fraction of what it would cost to do a franchise or something like that. So it's a good investment to do that.
That's why a lot of people get into the photography industry, because it is such a low number to get in. You go to Costco, you buy a camera. Hey, I'm a photographer. I'm a wedding photographer tomorrow, and you got to be careful for that. So, in wrap up here, don't let the fear of success keep you from actually doing this. You know, you want to get out there and do it. You want to get out there and try it if it's your direction. Don't just become a business because you can, because it is cheap, you know. So every photographer doesn't have to be a person that's in business, and business is hard. You know, it's not an easy thing. I've been in business for over 20 years with different various businesses, and it's not easy all the time. You have to do the accounting. You have to do everything at first, whether you like it or not, because you don't have the luxury of actually farming that stuff out. So keep it going, try it out, play with it. Let us know if you've had fear, if you failed, if you've had success in the comments below, and then we're definitely going to come back to this and talk about it again. You know, 15 minutes isn't long enough to chat about this, but we'll come back to it and talk about another episode down the road.
Cheers.
Cheers.